The training dome hummed with barely contained energy as Instructor Vex'thal surveyed the assembled cadets. 23 of the Galactic Coalition's finest military prospects sat in precision rows, their various appendages, tendrils and limbs folded in attentive postures. 23 apex predators from worlds where survival meant being the most dangerous thing in the room. And then there was the human. Marcus Webb sat in the back corner, looking for all the universe like he'd rather be literally anywhere else. His posture was terrible by military standards, one leg crossed over the other, chin propped on his fist. He'd shown up to advanced tactical warfare, wearing what he called a vintage concert shirt under his regulation jacket, which technically violated 3 different dress codes. Vex'thal's mandibles clicked in barely suppressed irritation. Humans. They'd been part of the coalition for exactly 4 standard cycles, and somehow they acted like they owned the place. Today's exercise, Vex'thal announced, his voice carrying the authority of 17 campaigns across 9 sectors, focuses on neutralizing apex predators from high-gravity death worlds. We will examine the Krovar, native to Telos 9, where atmospheric pressure is 4 times standard, and the local fauna considers armored vehicles an appetizer. The tactical display flickered to life, showing a creature that made several cadets shift uncomfortably. The Krovar stood 9 feet tall on 4 legs built like industrial support columns. Its hide was thick enough to stop plasma rounds, its 3 rows of crystallized teeth could punch through starship hull plating, and its sensory array could detect a heartbeat from 200 meters. Nasty, someone whispered. Lethal, Vex'thal corrected. Your standard infantry loadout will not stop this creature. Your armor will not protect you. Your speed, your strength, your traditional tactics, insufficient. This is why we train. This is why we prepare. He paused, letting the weight of the creature's specifications sink in. Cadet Thrix. 3 methods to disable this predator. Go. The Corthan cadet straightened, her scales shifting to a focused blue. Directed energy pulse to disrupt neural pathways. Kinetic strike to the primary locomotive joints. Atmospheric manipulation to induce respiratory failure. Acceptable. Vex'thal's gaze swept the room. Cadets, Zen. Your approach. The insectoid officer clicked thoughtfully. Sonic disruption targeting inner ear structures. Thermal lance to compromise hide integrity. Coordinated pack tactics to overwhelm sensory processing. Adequate. Vex'thal made a note on his datapad. Then his eyes landed on the human in the back. A small, dangerous smile crossed his features. Time to humble the newcomer. Cadet Webb. List 3 ways to disable a Krovar predator. The human didn't immediately respond. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, studying the rotating hologram with an expression that Vex'thal couldn't quite read. Several seconds passed. The other cadets began to shift uncomfortably. Finally, Marcus spoke, his tone casual, almost conversational. Temporarily or forever. The training dome went very, very quiet. Vex'thal's 3 eyes narrowed. Explain. Marcus uncrossed his legs and sat up, suddenly looking more focused. Well, you said disable, which could mean a lot of things, right? Are we looking to stop it long enough to get away, keep it down for capture, or are we talking about a permanent solution to what I assume is trying to eat us? I said disable, Cadet. The parameters should be obvious. Should they? The human's lips quirked upward. Not quite a smile, but close. Because temporary versus permanent requires completely different approaches, different tools, different ethical considerations technically. A ripple of surprise went through the assembled students. No one questioned Instructor Vex'thal, certainly not in his own tactical warfare class. Very well, Vex'thal said, his voice dropping to something colder. Permanent solutions. Impress me, human. Marcus stood, walking toward the holographic display. He moved with a looseness that would have gotten him demerits in parade drill, but there was something about the way he circled the rotating predator that suggested complete focus. Option 1. He began, pointing to the creature's massive legs. You mentioned those limbs are built to handle high gravity, probably incredible compression strength. Right. Downward force. They can manage all day. He paused. But lateral stress, different story. A shaped charge placed correctly, just above the knee joint, perpendicular to the natural articulation axis. You're not breaking through the hide. You're transferring kinetic energy through it, shattering the connective tissue inside. Thing weighs, what, 1,500 kilos. On a high-gravity world, it comes down. It stays down. Permanently. Vex'thal said nothing, but his datapad was recording. Option 2. Marcus gestured to the creature's head. 3 rows of teeth, multiple sensory organs, heavy bone structure, protecting what I assume is a pretty impressive brain. Direct assault is inefficient. But see that nasal cavity configuration? Those aren't just for smell. Respiratory and thermal regulation probably. Given the atmospheric density on its home world, you don't need to penetrate the skull. High expansion aerosol compound, something that flash freezes on contact with organic tissue. Deploy it upwind, let the predator's own respiratory system do the work. Lung tissue crystallizes, brain temperature drops below functional threshold within 90 seconds. Messy but permanent. And your third method? Vex'thal's voice was carefully neutral now. Marcus turned, and for just a moment, something flickered in his expression. Something old. Something that had no business being in the eyes of a species so new to the galactic stage. You wait, he said simply. You wait? These things are apex predators on a death world, which means they're aggressive, territorial, and probably not great at distinguishing between food and threat until it's too late. So you identify its hunting pattern, track its territory markers, and you position yourself not as prey. He smiled then, and it wasn't a particularly pleasant expression. You position yourself as competition. Competition, Vex'thal repeated. Another predator. Bigger, meaner, more aggressive. Make enough noise, establish dominance through the right behavioral signals, chemical markers if you can synthesize them. Make it think you're horning in on its territory, threatening its food supply, its mating prospects, whatever drives its territorial instinct. And when it charges you, because it absolutely will. Marcus tapped the hologram, freezing it mid-stride, mouth open in a silent roar. You've already prepared the ground. Collapsing terrain. Pitfall. Buried explosive. Redirected lava flow if you're feeling ambitious. The beauty of using a predator's own aggression is that it commits fully. No hesitation, no retreat. It sees a threat, it eliminates the threat, and it never occurs to a creature like this that the threat might be the bait. His voice went quieter. You let it destroy itself trying to destroy you. Permanent enough? The training dome remained silent for a long, long moment. Finally, Cadet Thrix raised a tentacle. Instructor. Question. Speak. The human's third method. That's not really disabling the predator. That's manipulation. Psychological warfare. Trap setting. That's, she paused, searching for the word. That's hunting. Yes, Vex'thal said slowly, his eyes still locked on Marcus Webb, who had returned to his seat and resumed his terrible posture, looking entirely unbothered by the attention. Yes, it is. The silence stretched like pulled wire, ready to snap. Vex'thal had trained soldiers for 3 decades. He'd seen combat on 17 worlds, survived engagements that killed better warriors than he'd ever be, and learned to read the subtle tells that separated competent fighters from true killers. And right now, every instinct honed across those decades was screaming at him that he'd made a terrible miscalculation. The human wasn't just another cadet. Cadet Webb, Vex'thal said carefully. Your methods demonstrate concerning familiarity with lethal force application. The coalition emphasizes restraint, measured response, preservation of life where tactically viable. Marcus shrugged. That infuriating casual gesture humans did so well. You asked for permanent solutions to a 9-foot murder machine with hull plating for skin. I gave you 3. Was I supposed to suggest we ask it nicely to stop eating people? A few nervous laughs rippled through the cadets. Vex'thal's mandibles clicked sharply, silencing them. Your file indicates minimal combat experience. 4 cycles in the coalition military. No deployment to hostile zones. No engagement history beyond training simulations. He leaned forward. So where exactly did you learn to think like this? The human's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Something that made Vex'thal's spine ridges flatten instinctively. Earth, Marcus said simply. Your homeworld is classified as low threat. Temperate climate zones, moderate gravity, no apex predators capable of threatening organized settlements. Now, Marcus agreed. Hasn't always been that way though. We've had a long time to get good at this whole survival thing. Lots of practice. Cadet Zen, the insectoid, chittered nervously. Instructor, I've reviewed human evolutionary history. Their dominant predators were eliminated thousands of cycles ago. Megafauna, competing hominid species, all extinct or genetically absorbed. Extinct, Marcus repeated, his smile widening slightly. Yeah, funny how that worked out, isn't it? All our competition just gone. Almost like something happened to them. The temperature in the training dome seemed to drop several degrees. Vex'thal pulled up a secondary display. Earth. Mammalian predators native to human developmental regions. Cave lions, weighing 400 kilos, bite force sufficient to crush bone. Short-faced bears, standing over 3 meters tall. Dire wolves, pack hunters with coordinated tactical behavior. He looked at Marcus. These creatures had every physical advantage, strength, speed, natural weapons, yet humanity survived. We did better than survive, Instructor. Marcus stood again, moving to the display. See, here's the thing about humans. We're not fast, we're not strong, we don't have claws or fangs or armored hides. Put us in a straight fight against pretty much anything our size or bigger, we lose every time. Yet you're here, Vex'thal observed. And they are not. Exactly. The human pointed to the holographic cave lion. This thing, ambush predator. Incredible burst speed, could run down prey in seconds, but only for short distances. Humans, we're endurance hunters. We can't sprint worth a damn, but we can jog for days. Literally days. We'd track something like this, keep it moving, never let it rest, never let it recover. Hour after hour, kilometer after kilometer, until its muscles seized up and its heart gave out from exhaustion. Then we'd walk up to the corpse and have lunch. Thrix's scales had gone pale purple. That's horrifying. That's efficient, Marcus corrected. Why risk injury fighting when you can just outlast? The bears, he gestured to another hologram. Stronger than us, better armed, more aggressive. So we didn't fight them on their terms. We used fire. Smoke them out of their dens during winter hibernation, when they're sluggish and vulnerable, or we'd contaminate their food sources, make them sick, weak, or we'd simply avoid them entirely, move to different territories, let them have their space while we developed tools that made their strength irrelevant. And the wolves? Vex'thal found himself asking, despite knowing he probably didn't want the answer. Marcus's expression softened slightly. The wolves were smart. Social pack structure, coordinated tactics, intelligent enough to recognize patterns and adapt, so we didn't eliminate them. We domesticated them, turned their pack loyalty toward us instead of their own species, bred them, generation after generation, until they forgot they were ever predators at all. Now they're called dogs, and they sleep on our furniture and eat kibble from bowls. The training dome was dead silent now. You're saying, Cadet Zen said slowly, that humanity's survival strategy was to either outlast, outwit, or enslave everything that threatened you. Well, when you put it like that, it sounds bad. Marcus laughed, but the sound held no humor. I prefer to think we adapted. We learned. We survived by being more stubborn, more creative, and more willing to do whatever it took than anything else on our planet. The things that couldn't be avoided, we endured. The things that couldn't be endured, we eliminated. The things that couldn't be eliminated, we turned into allies. He paused. That's just Earth though, one planet. Standard difficulty, as coalition surveys go. Vex'thal's 3 eyes narrowed. You're suggesting your methods would apply to the Krovar. I'm not suggesting anything, Instructor. You asked me to list 3 ways to permanently disable an apex predator from a high-gravity death world. I gave you techniques humanity has refined over millions of years of evolutionary pressure. Whether they'd work? He shrugged again. I'd need to study the Krovar's behavioral patterns, analyze its biochemistry, understand its environmental dependencies. Then I'd test hypotheses, probably lose a few people in the initial trials, adapt based on results, and iterate until we found something reliable. Lose a few people, Thrix whispered. He says it like he's talking about equipment malfunction, because that's how you develop tactics against unknown threats. Marcus replied, his tone matter of fact. You send scouts. Some don't come back. You learn from what killed them. You adjust. You try again. Eventually you win. That's how it works. Vex'thal stared at the human for a long moment. Then he closed the tactical display, the holograms winking out of existence. Cadet Webb, you're dismissed. All cadets, dismissed. Training resumes at 0600 tomorrow. The students filed out quickly, most giving Marcus a wide berth. The human gathered his things slowly, seemingly unbothered by the reactions he'd provoked. Webb, Vex'thal called as the human reached the door. A word. Marcus turned back, waiting. Your application to the coalition military. It listed your motivation as seemed interesting. Is that still accurate? The human considered the question, then smiled. That same unsettling expression from before. Instructor, I spent my whole life on a planet where we're the only apex predator left, where the most dangerous thing in any room is another human, where we've gotten so good at survival that we've basically won the game. He hitched his bag higher on his shoulder. Out here, though, galaxy full of things that want to eat us, shoot us, or blow up our ships. Species that have been doing this for thousands of years longer than we have. Marcus's smile widened. Yeah, this seems interesting. He left. Vex'thal stood alone in the training dome for several minutes, thinking. Then he pulled up his secure communications terminal and began typing a message to Coalition Command. Subject, Human Integration Assessment. Urgent review required. First line, we may have made a mistake assuming humans were prey species.